Join us for the first National Agroecology Symposium in Kenya, where innovation meets tradition. On November 6th and 7th, 2024, at the Kenya School of Monetary Studies, we'll explore our theme, Sustainable Future, Advancing Agroecology for Food Sovereignty and Climate Resilience. Our focus areas are policy and governance, agroecological practices for food security and climate resilience, finance and markets for agroecology transition, scientific evidence and innovation of agroecology, and women, youth, and PWDs in agroecology. Connect with leading experts, farmers, and advocates as we discuss practical solutions to ensure food sovereignty and tackle climate challenges. Whether you're a farmer, policymaker, or an advocate for sustainable practices, this is your chance to be part of a transformative movement.
The mission is PLENARY Kenya. We promote agroecological principles and practices among smallholder farmers and pastoral communities in Kenya. And these are the most vulnerable communities when we talk about the climate change, when we talk about food systems that are at crossroads, and when we talk about many vulnerabilities, including policy changes that affect the smallholder farmers. And there's a network. We are at the forefront, supporting the farmers in all the ways that we can. And of course, the food and agriculture must too change as the climate change is changing. And I see the great role of agroecology as a broad climate solution. So it's my hope that we shall be able to share our innovative ideas. We shall be able to freely network and be part of this solution of the climate crisis through agroecology. Because at the end of the day, in as much as agriculture, they have been contributing to climate change, we have to eat, and we have to do this in a sustainable manner.
Don't miss out. Register today and help shape a sustainable future for Kenya. Together, we can cultivate change.
Aha! Weka marilo kidogo. Ongiona ginyete gokomo renyoyo ne munene. Aya zunguka kidogo, zunguka. Tiena bere. Tele. Modenyoyo. Eto soke duda. Rudi nyuma kidogo. Nyuma. Kando. Utogwe na mwena. Kando. Eto ina merere. Inama kidogo. Inama chini. Tena hii sasa. Bado muko na njaa. Will you repeat again? Twende. Ongiona ginyete gokomo denyoyo ne munene. Modenyoyo ne munene. Eto ina bere. Tende bere. Aguka nayo. Aguka na. Aguka na. Aguka. Eto roke duda. Aguka na. Aguka na. Aguka. Eto gwena mwena. Kando. Eto ina merere. Foye. Inama. Foye. Omba Mungu. Tengeneza sauti. Wapi vigelegele. Modenyoyo ne munene.
Jipigie makofi mazuri. Jipigie makofi kabisa.
Yes,
asanteni sana.
Mark.
Kayamba roots. If I didn't know any better,
I would think Mateus paid you to start his afternoon session on a high so that it's on memorable mode. So, Mateus, well done. I hope M-Pesa balance may change. Bonge vizuri na Mateus. He was also carried away. This is part of his time. So you had 15 minutes, sir. You have 5 left of your presentation. But yes, I have a message here for one of the facilitators for the afternoon parallel sessions after this panel. And welcome back, first of all, from lunch. And I'm sure you enjoyed that session. I didn't want to cut it short because we've had heavy lunch, and it's good to shake up a bit before we get into the next panel for the afternoon. It will be heavy, so I'm sure you won't regret this session. But yes, now we continue. Beatrice Ndisha, you were meant to be a moderator for the afternoon session, one of the parallel sessions. So please go to the reception. They're looking for you so that they could align your presentation. Beatrice Ndisha, If you know yourself, you were part of the afternoon parallel session. I think it was session 4. Please go to the reception. They would like to just align your presentation for those who will be joining you in that room. But for the first keynote address for this afternoon, and as I've said, he's used 10 minutes of his 15 minutes allocated for the afternoon, but I'm just joking. Matthias has been with us since early morning, has been a sport, and we'd like to now hear from him as a keynote speaker for this afternoon session. There will be 2, and I'm sure they'll keep time. So there'll be this particular one on agroecology, delivers on societal goals across economic, environmental, and social domains, by Matthias Geck from C4 ICRAF. Now, this is all in the context for the afternoon under finance and markets for agroecology transition. So that's in the sub-theme of that, what we're going to be focusing on. So let me invite him on stage. Let's give him a hand for sponsoring the afternoon jig session. Give him a hand as he comes to the stage. And just a bit about him, and his presentation will be patched on the screens. Matthias Geck, agroecological system scientist at C4 ICRAF, and is the coordinator of agroecology TPP. And currently his research focuses on measuring agroecology and its performance, and more generally transdisciplinary research on agroecological approaches for food systems transformation. I'll stop it there. As you can tell, I'm out of breath, so I need to go back to the gym, thanks to the Kayamba Roots Band, who will be back to kind of shake it up a bit. But now, ladies and gentlemen, let's put a hand together for Matthias. He's getting a sip. He needed that, so there's plenty of where that came from. If you didn't have water or get water, there's some at the reception for you. I'm sure you need it after that dance. So, ladies and gentlemen, to Matthias Geck. Makofi tafadhali, makofi.
Thank you, brother. And I'm very happy to give away some time for beautiful dancing. I hope we're all awake now after a good lunch, and I hope you still have some energy. While he was joking, I will nonetheless try to be as brief as possible, so we have some time for discussion after all as well. But I would like to take this opportunity to thank Pelham and all the wonderful organizers for making this happen. I think it's been super exciting in the morning already, hearing from the farmers, hearing from the farmer research networks in Western Kenya, in Nyamburu, in Makueni, and hearing from the policymakers on how change is coming about. So if we could have the presentation on the screen. So I would like to address the comment that came from, I think it was James, a farmer sitting right here. Are we also measuring the impacts, the performance of agroecology that we also addressed repeatedly? And that is part of the national strategy as well. We're working together with the ministry and the SFAR to ensure the change in the food system is also measured. But I would just like to give you some insights on what we know already on the performance of agroecology specifically in Kenya. If you could go to the next slide, please. Before I go there, I would like to briefly address the topic of the symposium today. As you can all see, it's talking about advancing agroecology for climate resilience and food sovereignty. Quite a mouthful, as you were saying, and it's quite a complex something. So, do we all know what food sovereignty is? Do we all know what agroecology is? Do we all know what climate resilience is? I hope we all have an idea, but I think it's ongoing discussions of what these terms mean. So, as it says here in the title, Advancing Agroecology for Climate Resilience, Food Sovereignty already tells us climate resilience and food sovereignty are things that we would like to have, their impact, so to speak. Whereas agroecology is a pathway to getting there. And the link is very close between food sovereignty and agroecology. Also in terms of the movements, you can see on the African continent, the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa has food sovereignty in its name, but it's a major promoter of agroecology in a Pan-African way. And also when we look at the definition of what food sovereignty means, it says it's the right of peoples to healthy and culturally appropriate food, produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, and their right to define their own food and agricultural systems. Many of these aspects we could also find in organic agriculture, in permaculture, etc. But it's really this last bit, the right to define their own food and agricultural systems. That is a highly distinguishing factor of food sovereignty. So it's giving power to all of you. Who should determine what we eat in Kenya? Who should determine how food is produced? How seed are handled? It's not multinational corporations, it's Kenyan people. And that is at the essence of food sovereignty, and that is also in the essence of the 13 principles and 10 elements of agroecology. Because when you look at this graph here on the bottom, you'll see the 13 principles of agroecology that are more related to food production. When you move up the ladder, you go towards participation, fairness, connectivity, land and natural resource governance. So agroecology is not just ecological farming, it's a food system transformation approach, very much aligned with food sovereignty. If we could go to the next slide, please. And then the other topic, climate resilience. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but just to mention, there's plenty of evidence out there that agroecology is a highly promising and effective approach for achieving climate change, resilience and adaptation, with clear co-benefits for mitigation, so reducing climate change as such. I had the honor of co-authoring one of those reports with FAO and my former employer BioVision, the potential of agroecology to build climate-resilient livelihoods and food systems, but there's also many others out there, and even the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, so the ultimate scientific authority on climate change, recognizes that fact. But now let's look at what agroecology has to offer on the farms. If we could go to the next slide. If we can. Basically, to try to answer the question that James, you had, and that I think many others have as well, and also very much aligned with the topic of this afternoon's session, financing for agroecology, we need robust scientific evidence that agroecology works, that it delivers on its promises, basically. In order to find out whether or not it does, we've carried out a study using the tool that I think it was a colleague from Moronga County who mentioned it in the morning from FAO, TAPE, the tool for agroecology performance evaluation. We've coupled it with another tool that C4ECRAF has on the land degradation surveillance framework, which gives us more details about soil health. Are we able to move the slides or are they stuck? There we are. Super. And we've done this application of these two tools in 4 countries, one in West Africa, Benin, 2 in East Africa, Ethiopia and Kenya. In Kenya specifically in Siaya, Bungoma and Kakamega, and then in Southern Africa on the island of Madagascar, giving the largest data set so far on the performance of agroecology measured with this tool called TAPE. I'm not going to go into any scientific details. What I would like you to walk out of with is really the results of it. So if we could proceed relatively quickly, slide through slide. So the first thing, we can see that there's a very clear correlation between how agroecological households and farmers are and how much security over land tenure they have. And this, I think, is really important also when we're talking about financing aspects, when we're talking about policy aspects. Without secure land tenure, it's very difficult for farmers to make the decisions of investing into long-term sustainability and the outcomes that agroecology produces. What we can also see here in Kenya and in the other 3 countries, women have much less secure land rights than men. I think that is something most of us know, but it's something that we all agree needs to change. But now let's look into the really interesting results where we correlate the degree of agroecological integration. If you could go to the next slide, please. So basically, how agroecological a farming household is, that is what you can see on the bottom line. The more you are on the right side, the more you integrate the 10 elements of agroecology, and the more on the left side you can see how well you perform in different dimensions. That's what the next graphs will look like. And it's not particularly surprising that agroecology performs very well on the environment. So more agroecological farmers have better soil health and have increased biodiversity performance. What is more interesting, if we go to the next slide, is that it correlates very strongly and significantly positively with productivity and income. And we've heard it often enough this morning. Environmental benefits are great. It's something we all care about, and we all know it's a foundation for farming. But in the end, smallholder farmers, what are they most interested in? They need to feed their family. They need to send their kids to school, so they need to have an income, and they need to know that they're producing enough on their farm. So it's really insightful that in this largest ever application of the FAO tool for agroecology performance evaluation, we can show that there's a clear correlation of the more you integrate the 10 elements of agroecology, so not just practicing agroecological farming, but also connecting, engaging in civil society, engaging in policy change, etc., the more productive is your farm, and the higher is your overall household income. If you could go to the next slide, please. And we've heard it very clearly from our guest of honor this morning. There's too many people in Kenya going to bed hungry. There's people starving. There's kids and women, pregnant women, who can't have enough food to grow properly. So the absolute pivotal priority for Kenya is food security. So if agroecology doesn't deliver on that, it's probably not the right solution. But in this study we can show that across sub-Saharan Africa and including in Western Kenya, there's a clear correlation of the integration of agroecological elements and improved food security. And if coupled with some other aspects that the GIZ project, under the umbrella of which we carried out this project, it also relates not only to food security but to nutritional diversity. We all know the first thing is we can eat ugali, our stomach is fed, but we all know if we're only eating ugali, eventually we'll have a problem. So nutritional diversity is a really key component, and agroecology is a way of delivering that, given that it's focusing so much on diversity on the farm as well. I think that's probably my last slide. Now I probably have some key messages, if you could go to the next slide. So I think I've said it quite clearly, but we can show very, very clearly that in the study locations, agroecology is a viable and effective approach to achieving improved food security and nutrition, as well as increased productivity and incomes, while at the same time creating important environmental benefits. Nobody's against the environment, but it's a co-benefit for people who are marginalized, who are poor. That's no doubt about it. There is, however, more work needed, particularly in creating more enabling policy and in business environments for agroecological transitions. Part of the reason why we're saying that is because we can see that while agroecological farmers are more productive and have a higher income, they do have to spend more on inputs. Despite the fact that agroecology focuses on on-farm production, not reliance on commercial inputs, we know that farmers sometimes do rely on agro inputs for soil fertility, for pesticide and pest management, etc. And we all know that in countries like Kenya, the prices for these tend to be much higher than the conventional synthetic alternatives. So it's wonderful to see the government, together with all sectors of society, trying to address these issues, bringing the costs down, and thereby making agroecological farming more meaningful, more effective, and more cost-effective for all. And finally, we were talking about how to assess agroecology in the morning a bit as well. It's really important that when we assess agroecology, we don't just assess the farming practices, so not just organic farming, but the whole aspect of what agroecology means across the 10 elements or 13 principles to get the full picture. Because there's a lot of evidence out there that when we're practicing organic farming only, there's a yield gap, meaning that the yield we get from organic farming is on average about somewhere between 25 and 5% lower than conventional farming. However, if we take into account the other dimensions that are important for agroecology, we can see the opposite. The productivity is higher. So I hope that is encouraging for all of us, and I hope this is above all encouraging for the topic of this afternoon, financing for agroecology, because that requires investments, and if we can't show that agroecology works, the investment will not come. But I think now, handing over back to our wonderful C, we're going into the other topic of this afternoon, and that is creating a market, and we'll hear about the participatory guarantee schemes. Is that true?
Yes, sir. Asante sana. Within 13 minutes, actually under 13 minutes, he has managed to give us his keynote address. Let's give him a hand. Mateus Gek, asante sana for that. And as I call on the next speaker, just before we get into the panel, Mr. Bonventure Biko, tafadhali njoo, and he will be addressing this. Excuse me, I need to drink some water. Evidence for the potential of participatory guarantee systems. Agroecology can boost
the supply of safe and affordable produce in mass markets. So let's give him a hand as he comes to give us his address.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm called Bonaventure Biko. I work with Practical Action under a program called Resilient Agriculture that works for youth. It's an initiative of Practical Action and Mastercard Foundation, whereby we seek to provide sustainable and meaningful employment to youth through agriculture, through regenerative agriculture. So today I'll talk to you about participatory guarantee scheme. There's a mode of certification in supplying agroecological foods to the mass market. And this was a study that was done between Practical Action and BioVision Foundation, just to understand what are the issues, the demand, the supply of participatory guarantee schemes. So to the next slide. Yeah, so as I mentioned, it was done between collaboration of Practical Action and BioVision and other organizations, done in 2023 and 2024. So this also culminated in a policy brief that talked about our premium market destruction, because when you talk about agroecological produce, some tend to think that they are kind of very expensive and unaffordable to many consumers. So those are the things that we looked at. We looked at consumer survey to get the insights. We looked at the key informants, that is Kenya Organic Network, Pelham, who are the organizers of this event, Slow Food. And also we did the market price survey just to understand more insights. The next slide, please. Yeah, so I'll just talk on the key data points of these slides. I don't need to go through all information over there. But the study focused on three major towns of Kenya, two being cities, Nairobi and Mombasa. And I interviewed 300 consumers, 100 from each of the region mentioned. And I just picked randomly outside where they were shopping. So for us, a key data point is that if you look at the representation of female, we had a higher representation, a bit higher. This underscores the importance of female in ensuring that we get food in our houses. And then the other key data point was that if you look at where people shop for their produce, you'll find that most indicated that they shop from open air markets where they get produce. And this characterizes the mass market that we talk about, whereby it talks about, it's characterized by the fresh produce, high turnover, formal and informal laws. So on the next slide, we wanted to see the products that they consume. Can go back, please? Yes. So here we had to make a decision. Next slide, please. Here we had to make a decision. So we could not do study on all the produce. So we focus on fresh produce and processed produce. And here we look at mangoes, fresh mangoes and fresh tomatoes and their processed produce, just to understand what consumers take. And not to our surprise, all the respondents or consumers indicate that they consume tomato, which is almost 100%. And if I pose a question to you, is that we all know that the tomato that we consume here in Kenya, can we say that is agroecologically produced? No. Yeah, so we need, there's an opportunity for agroecological enterprises that are here. You can also take that advantage. And then mangoes was also the second most consumed produce that we interviewed. So we had also interest on the processed products, that is tomato paste or ketchup, and also dried mangoes. So in all the income groups, the tomato, the mango are well represented in all income group. But for the processed, the people in low income group below 20,000 Kenya shillings, they didn't take much of it. So this was more synonymous with as the income increases. Next slide. Yeah, so we wanted also to understand the perception of these consumers towards agroecological products. So we gave them weighted characteristics and them to rate from 1 being the least, 4 being the highest. And most of them indicated that agroecological products should be food free from chemicals. And this data is well supported by many research, being one by Bell Hitch Foundation, whereby it mentioned that about 70% of agrochemicals used here in Kenya are banned in Europe, are not suitable, and about 40 of them are also banned in Europe. So another data point that came out of this was that these consumers gave a little recognition of agroecological food needs to be also certified. Because yes, you can say it's agroecologically produced, but are you sure it's been certified by anybody? Next slide. So this also tried to get what the consumers associate with the organic food. So key data point here, they said it's healthy, higher quality, and then they also recognize that cost of maybe organic or agroecological foods are a bit high. And then same here, we had also low recognition of being certified. Next slide. Yeah, so we also wanted to understand where these consumers buy their foods from. And as you can see on your screen, around 76 say that they buy from local sources. So by the time local sources, if you go to cities like Nairobi and Mombasa, they refer to be buying it from vendors who source food from their local areas. So sometimes you might hear that food is coming from Kisii, coming from Ukambani, and so on. And then also another group informed that they prefer buying food from the local, from smallholder farmers who are the producer. So in our analysis of this, and this was high in the low income group. So in our analysis here, we saw that consumers has a preference of food that is produced from where they know, maybe by people they know in an agroecological condition that they prefer. So here we deduce that more consumers like to know where the food is, and food that is produced in the local economy by the local people. So with that, maybe it might be an indicator of why people are going back to those traditional food. With the recent rise of maybe Africa leafy vegetable, where people want to know where this food is locally or produced by small scale farmer. Next slide. Yeah, so in this also we wanted to know if these consumers will prefer buying agroecologically produced food. So in all the income group, they are willing to buy. They indicated they are willing to buy this food, maybe from the low income to the highest. But what they mentioned is that access to this food is a challenge to them. They don't have access. So we also went ahead and dig this data. Next slide. Yeah, so one of the things they indicated was that the cost of this food is prohibitive. And then also indicated that availability of it, they can't access it. And this was more synonymous with the people earning less than 20,000 Kenya shillings, of whom 70% say they're not willing to pay extra for this agroecologically produced food. And then on availability, most of studies have mentioned that they're not being grown on large scale. This is supported by data whereby most of it is cultivated, designated for export markets. Little land is given to them to be calculated. But also we question ourselves that is that data true? Because I know each one of us might have maybe a kitchen garden whereby they observe those principles of agroecology in production. And maybe there are people who are producing this agroecologic food, but that data is not being captured. So that's what we deduced in that. Next slide. Yeah, so in our study we looked at how can we deliver these agroecologically produced products to the mass markets. So in our analysis we saw that if this produce is certified, This will give consumer confidence that they're consuming what is right. And then eventually this will generate demand for this produce that is agroecologically produced. So we said what of the option that this produce can be certified so that the masses can know what they're consuming. So the first option was third-party certification. These are like the EU regulations whereby there are bodies entitled to do the certification. We have also the East Africa Organic Produce Certification and maybe Japan Fresh Produce Certification. So, but each of these options had its pros and cons. Mostly we find that third party, they serve premium market, and also we find that cost of this produce is high, so many consumers cannot access it. And then also if you don't access, also this certification is not easily accessible to small scale farmers who are in the villages. The next standard was on the KS 1758 Horticulture Code of Conduct that is managed by Kenya Bureau of Standard. Also same as third party, it focuses on premium markets, and then it's not fully organic standard, and also it is also called still because farmers also have to work in an organized group, and also they are working for a producer market. So we look at participatory guarantee schemes, which they use Kilimo High Mark to certify this product. So these are local run standard of schemes that they certify this agroecologically produced. So it is easily accessible to most farmers. And then here in Kenya, the body that's mandated is Kenya Organic Network to coordinate and maybe to train these assessors in our local presence. And then they also use the Kilimo High Mark, which is endorsed by KEBS. So through analysis, we saw that participatory guarantee scheme, because it engages farmers, local stakeholders to produce agroecology food, this can deliver food to the mass market. Next stage, next slide. So here we just look at the advantage of PGS. So very it's cost friendly because you don't have to get assessors from the city or maybe Nairobi to the rural areas. Farmers learn from each, so it's a peer-to-peer learning, and farmers can share more data on what the market wants in terms of the standards. And then it has also potential to expand to other regions easily because it's locally run and very accessible. So we also did a market survey just to know the prices. We also surveyed Kagio Earth Market, who are the PGS. So we have various PGS that target either a niche market or just the local market. So Kagio Earth Market is one of them, and Kangari. So for analysis, we saw that they produce cost of production and the price also is also around 99% of the conventional product, meaning that agroecologically produced food is not that expensive. But in our further analysis, we saw that maybe this earth market they reduces the supply chains, whereby we don't have many people increasing the cost as the food gets to the market. And then also, as this food is agroecologically produced, we realize that it uses the regenerative agriculture, but it minimizes the cost. So they can be able to maximize on their profits. Next slides, please. Yeah, so in our conclusion and recommendations, we saw that PGS is the most suitable option to provide affordable foods to the mass markets. But PGS is still in early stages of development here. So we saw that we share this message to the development partners, the government, the county government, to pool resources in terms of supporting this scheme to so that it can expand to other regions. And one of the things also, PGS needs to do a lot of awareness at the national government level, at the county level, because it's still a new concept. And then also there need to be consumer awareness on food safety and agroecologically produce food so that we can increase the demand. On policy recommendations, we say that Kenya National Accreditation Services should recognize PGS as one of the certification approaches, and also recognize Kenya Organic Network as a body that is mandated to coordinate the PGS. So this will give them authority, this will give them that confidence to go and work with other organizations, county governments to set up. And then to the county government, we say that they need also to set up the infrastructure that support the earth market, support to the consumer awareness on agroecological products and safety, and also involve their staff in this PGS scheme so that they can also be assessors. And to the donors and development partners, for us is just to provide the technical support that we offer such insights, and also if possible financial support, because this will enable us achieve our target goal of food security, nutrition, environmental sustainability, and enabling mass markets to grow. Next slide. I think that's the end of my presentation today, and I leave you with a quote from E.F. Schumacher, which says, "To talk about futures is useful only if it leads to action now." So let's get to the action, and thank you.
Kofi tafadhali kwake Bonventure. Biko, any relation to Steve Biko? Oh, we ask your parents, eh? You never know, you never know. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, next is the panel that we have. Bwana Eustace, if you could join me on stage. He's been waiting, very eager. Even as you were dancing, he really wanted us to get going, but he also did put in a bit of a jig. Eustace Gashanja is the National Coordinator, Kenya Organic Agriculture Network, Cohen, and he has a packed panel of 4, and he is very clear on accommodating you in this particular conversation. So he will have a round of questions with his panelists and then throw it to you. So let's pay attention and feel free to ask questions. He's very clear. He really wanted your participation. He will be having on his panel, and this particular panel will be looking at markets for agroecology. We have Samuel Ndongo. He's from Kenya Organic Agriculture Network. Sylvia Kuria, agroecology trader. James Nyaga, the Agroecology Lead Officer, Climate Resilience Officer, Murang'a County. We heard from him before. Please, if you hear a name, please come up on stage just to save up on time. Tafadhali. And Martha Kihara, Chair, Inogov PGS Group. Tafadhali, join us. And yes, we also had Sylvia with us. Sylvia's basket. I see here, agroecology trader. And she's actually a neighbor from her area of operation, so, and we have benefited from your produce as well. If you can get something that can help hair loss, I'll be very, very highly indebted to you. We're still trying to, I don't know why it's funny though, we're still trying to get solutions to that. It decided to migrate to my chin, but really, if there's any, this is a room full of scientists, please, that will sell. We're looking at markets for agroecology. I'm your #1 customer, and I will pay premium. So over to you, Eustace. It is at 4:32. I'll give you ample time. Don't you worry, and there's a reason why. The floor is yours. Tuwape makofi tafadhali.
Thank you very much, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the afternoon session, where we are going to have an exciting discussion regarding markets for agroecology transition. This topic speaks very much into 5 of the 13 principles of agroecology. The principle of economic diversification, the principle of fairness, the principle of social values and diet, the principle of participation, and lastly, the principle of connectivity. We have an amazing panelist, and the structure of the discussion is that we are going to have opening remarks from the panelists. Then we'll have a question and answer, which will include the 2 presentations that have been just done. and then we'll have responses to the questions, and then we wrap up. And maybe to start us off, and also connecting to the questions that were raised by Dr. Sarah Olembo in the morning, regarding how PGS can play a part in terms of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And I want to start off with Samuel. What do you think needs to be done to ensure that, or how do you see the role of PGS, to start with, in taking advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and what needs to be done to make it happen? Samuel.
Good afternoon. My name is Samuel Domo, working with Coan. I've been developing organic markets for some time now, close to 16 years, and worked with many traders, and also worked on the developing guarantee systems. And it's true that participatory guarantee systems are locally focused systems which are based on the participation of stakeholders, on trust, on the stakeholders working together. It's a very noble guarantee system, which is not only recognized in Kenya but globally. And for example, in East African countries, we have common protocols that we have agreed on in the 5 East African countries, and we have a way of also cross-referencing each other. And therefore, if you have a PGS product in Kenya, it can actually be sold in Tanzania or Uganda, Rwanda and Burundi, and vice versa. So for that, we are breaking the barriers of trade in the different countries, so that we can have smooth flow of organic products between countries. If you look at the African level and also globally, IFOAM has developed elements of PGS and also features of PGS, and they have come up with a way of recognizing PGS groups. And therefore, if you have a PGS, for example, in South Africa or any other country, actually you can actually sell organic products across countries. So it's a way of encouraging or reducing what people call non-tariff barriers of trade, especially for organic products. So actually PGS can actually work in helping us to reduce or to facilitate the flow of products across our countries.
Thank you very much for that. I know Sylvia Kuria was here in the morning, and you talked about as a farmer, but you're also a trader, and maybe you also get some products from outside Kenya. And do you get products that are PGS certified outside Kenya? And what more do we need to do to ensure that we bring more farmers and traders into the organic agroecological business?
Okay, thank you very much. So like in the morning I was here mainly talking about policy as a farmer, and now I'm happy to share about my experience as a trader. The foundation and the work that we do as Sylvia's Basket, has actually been supported greatly by PGS. Most of the produce we're actually getting farmers who have been certified by that have gone through PGS training and have got the Kilimo High mark. So for us, we've been really wanting to, ensure that we have a wide variety of produce. As you know, many complaints that we have sometimes about organic is that, the produce, like the variety is quite, low, and also in terms of consistency. So we've gone across the borders, and now we're actually trading with some farmers in Uganda who are sending us some dried fruits. So that comes in maybe like once a month, and it's actually worked quite well. So we're working with Pelam Uganda, and we're able to ensure that the organic farmers in Uganda who have got dried fruits are able to trade across the borders. Something that we also find that is that's working very well for PGS is that, have you guys ever thought that when you want to export produce to Europe, it's so much easier than just getting things across the border, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania? It's very difficult. But then for now, having organized PGS groups that are certified makes it a bit easier, but we still need a lot of work within the policy space. Because now having, bulk produce with, bulk produce, fresh produce, becomes very difficult at the borders. And that's why we are still starting small. So it's a step in the right direction, but we need a lot of policy intervention that will open up the ways for us to now be able to, with bulk produce across the borders.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvia. Before we talk about policy interventions, we have been talking about participatory guarantee system. But some farmers here may be wondering what is this participatory guarantee system. And it would be good if one of the practitioners who is Matt can explain what it means and how they have gone about it. Welcome, Martha.
Good afternoon. Participatory guarantee system for us is a very straightforward thing. It is a community who are practicing agroecology to actually start practicing self-governance in quality control, self-governance in establishing their own markets, and self-governance in how to access finances or funds to support what they're doing, and also gives them the opportunity for self-governance for individual growth in the group. But everything on trust. So cohesion and trust are the pillars of foundation for agroecology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martha. Yaga, you have been promoting agroecology and PGS in Murang'a County. What can other counties who would like to support PGS and maybe give some of the things that you have done to support PGS groups, and what needs additional things that need to be done in order that to include more farmers in PGS and more farmers participating in market?
Okay, what we need to do is government. You see, for the government, we create what we call the enabling environment. That is through the policies and strategies. Then the private sector can implement. What we did is Murang'a in the last government. You see, Murang'a, we are the leading county in the avocado production, especially Kadara. And you can see every county there's what we call like a gold rush in planting the avocado tree. And in 10 years to come, there will be issues with the market. So what we did, we trained what we call the auditors in what we call certification. We want to do what we call certification for our avocado produce, and we can get what we call the prime markets in the European Union markets. So what I can urge the government, what you need to do, you should smoothen the way. You create policies, then you work one-on-one with the farmers and the CSO working there through what you call the multi-stakeholder platform, and you build strength amongst them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the response. And with those opening remarks, we open the floor so that we get questions relating to the two presentations and the opening remarks from the panelists.
So this is your, yes, I see a hand there. Any other? I'll come to you just to locate you. I see another. 2 hands, Asante. So just go ahead with your question, who you are and who your question is directed at.
Thank you. My name is Crispus Kinyua from the Institute for Food Justice and Development. My question goes to Martha. In general, we have been a trust-based or trust-oriented society, in that when I go to buy tomatoes from the stall or Sukuma Wiki, I trust that this person has safe products. I don't know what measures, but before I go there, but we have come to realize that we have so many problems in terms of food safety in Kenya. Like some of these have grown in the sewage, and we have the pesticide issues. So now in the PGS, how sure are we that these people are actually, can be the trust a bit in Kenya? For me, I feel like it's a gray area, kind of. how do we guarantee that indeed this trust will not fail at some point? Thank you.
Martha, you could respond to that. You can share a mic with Eustace, and then I'll give it to her to ask a question so that you don't get lost in that.
Okay, thank you for the question. The issue of trust, he's raised a very important question. How can consumers be guaranteed that we deliver to them what we've promised to deliver to them? So within our participatory guarantee system, there is a mechanism that is inbuilt for quality control. So what do we do? How do we ensure quality control? So the group is trained in peer supervision. And once a year, we have to visit each and every farm and see what is happening. You have to check on what are they using. They have to show what they're using. We have to talk to the workers. We have to look even at the pit where they throw their stuff. And the other thing is, we actually record what each farmer is farming. So you cannot bring tomatoes when in your list we never saw tomatoes. And if you do bring tomatoes, you have to justify where did you get the tomatoes. So actually there are a lot of very strict rules in the group, but the formation of the group also determines a lot of what happens. There must be a basis of who is getting involved. What are their values? Are they coming for money, or are they coming first and foremost to feed their families? Because we buy from the same market. The farmers actually are the first line buyers from the market. So I don't want chemicals in my food. And so I ensure that every farmer will bring me produce that is clean. And also we have other people who go, after we've done our own peer review, we have COAN, they can do spot checks on the farm. Basically that's what we do. So yes, it's based on trust, but we have mechanisms of ensuring quality control is maintained.
Asante.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Venancia Wambu. I work for BioVision Africa Trust. And my question is very simple in terms of, we know that organic products are very expensive, quite expensive when you compare to the conventional products. What strategies, now especially COAN and the rest of the stakeholders, what strategies are you putting in place, at least to make sure that they kind of match with the conventional products? Because the reality is that we'll first look at our stomach. We are hungry first. You know, how much money do we have to purchase before we think about, is this product safe or not? And this is where the issue of actually food security and nutrition comes on board. So what strategies are we putting in place, at least to make sure that all of us can actually access this, the agroecological products that we are trying to promote? Thank you. My question is actually to Samuel. Thank you.
Samuel, could take that. You're sharing the mic there from Eustace. Any other question as I can identify and come to you? I see you, ma'am. I'm coming.
Thank you, Venancia. And the issue of pricing, I think, is a very important issue. And I think the study shows that people are sensitive to prices. Our consumers, although they would like safe, healthy foods, they are also concerned about the costs. And the way that it was shown that, for example, in Kagio market, the pricing is 97% more. I think it's for all of us, including farmers, to see how do we make organic and agroecology foods to be affordable among the consumers. You know, when we started doing consumer surveys, especially in our major cities, Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, we were, the respondents that were telling us they are interested to eat organic food are mostly upper income and, few middle income, earners. But as we are saying, that we didn't need to move from there and move to the common mwananchi, we move to the middle class, the lower middle class, and see how can they also access safe and organic foods, because they are also interested to eat these foods. but we cannot be able to reach them. They can't be able to access if those foods are, 90, 100% more than the conventional products. Organic farmers, when they are selling their products, for example, Mother said, they sell to the organic farmers market. Already they have a premium because the conventional farmers sell their products to brokers, and brokers sell to other traders who sell to the final consumer. But then they are selling direct to the final consumer, so they are earning actually more money, even if they match the price with what the conventional farmers are selling. They are actually earning more. So I think we need to work together on this, so that we make organic foods be more accessible, to our general population. I think the other issue that is normally there is the issue of demand and supply. That's a factor of price. When we have rice products being offered into the market as agroecology products, then of course the prices will be high. And I know there are many CSOs here who have been training farmers on agroecology practices, but they don't participate in the market. And that's why the issue of PGS is very important. How do we make these farmers to be PGS farmers, to be recognized as doing agroecology and participate in the market, so that we can increase the diversity of organic and agroecology products in the market, and therefore offer an opportunity for consumers to be able to eat diverse food and easily available food in the market. So I think it's for all of us, also the CSOs who are here, how can we turn the groups that we have so that they can be PGS groups? They establish their own local organic farmers market. I think Sylvia was talking about territorial markets, so that our local communities can also be able to access these safe and nutritious foods. Thank you.
Question here, and then you could raise your hand. I see you, and I see you. I'll be with you.
Thank you. Thanks so much, the discussants, and what you have brought to our knowledge is very, very valid and urgent. My question is this, that you do PGS. I do know that PGS is also practiced in Uganda, in Tanzania, and in Ethiopia. But I haven't seen any quality declared seeds in Kenya. Why? What stops you from going to that level so that we also have available quality declared seeds? That's the first one. The second one, as I indicated earlier in the morning in my introduction, I was proposing that PGS, ICS, and peer review, internal checks, that we develop this, we document the information that there is and leverage the IPPC. Because IPPC, the Technical Working Group on Standards, they have always requested for standards from Africa. But even since they gave us an ability to attend standard setting bodies and the interactions in Rome, until now, there is no country or no region in Africa that has submitted a standard that is completely African for them to consider, so that it is endorsed, as a standard that can be accepted to fit into the international standards for phytosanitary measures. The second question is that I indicated also earlier, was that we want to leverage the continental free trade, area that is based in Ghana. If we have PGS, how different are the PGS that is performed here and in other countries? How are they different? If they agree, if they deliver the same goods, why is it that we cannot even approach the intercontinental free trade area and indicate to them that we want this standard to be registered with them, so that there is a free flow of goods? Look at our people here struggling to just sell within. Sylvia with her basket, she can permeate the whole of this continent with her products if the African free trade area can be approached and told that these standards are available. Thirdly, I want to know how much participation is there for women, because we know that when it comes to trade and markets, then the men step in. But at the level of working and doing the really dirty work, it is the women who do. how much training are we giving to women so that they too can perform this particular task? And is it possible that we can recommend a training program that targets women, especially to be carried out by PELAM, because they're the ones who are with the farmers, so that this training capacity can also reach throughout the continent onto the women? Thank you very much.
Thank you. We could address those questions. Yeah, go ahead with the applause, tafadhali. Mpige makofi. You could address those questions, and I go to the gentleman and the gentleman there as well.
Yeah, maybe I can start and then give to my colleagues. The issue of seeds, Dr. Sarah, is, there are two levels. There's a certification that's done by government and also the organic certification. And within the framework of PGS, we encourage farmers to save their seeds and share with the other farmers. But according to the standard that we are using now for organic, because of the regulatory requirements of treating seeds before you commercially sell them, we allow farmers to use the seeds they can buy from the shop, but they have to protect the contamination of their farms, probably by washing the seeds before they do the planting. But we are working towards, and also many of the partners here are working on seeds and seeing how farmers can be able to get that knowledge of growing their own seeds, seed selection, and being able to utilize their own seeds. Instead of in case of PGS, you're asking about if it is the same across countries, why don't we have this trade happening? And one is, PGS, IFOAM has developed. IFOAM is the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements. They have developed the PGS, 10 PGS features and 6 PGS elements, which all the PGSs should be having. And that's what makes PGS to be, common. Although PGSs should be unique to their situations, to their environments, to where they are operating, but there is that commonness within what IFOAM has developed. And that's what we use as COAN to do assessments and recognize PGSs in Kenya. And therefore, if you have a PGS here in Kenya, if it's following the features and it has the elements as defined by IFOAM, then it should be the same as any other PGS in the country. In the one, and it's good to know that even in Europe there are some countries which are slowly starting to recognize PGSs, like I think Switzerland has started doing that. So I think it's a movement that is also beyond, going beyond our continent. And lastly, I think you are asking how about women. I think that's an issue of PERAM, but it's good that we are seeing more and more women getting interested in marketing through the PGS, because it's an easier way. They don't need to invest a lot in certification as compared to the third-party system, as it was showed here in the presentation, because of course of the limitation of resources. So I think it's one way of also bringing women to participate in the market. But surely, as you say, within more capacity development to be done, so that more awareness, and I think also the study showed that more people know what PGS is and how to form PGS groups so that they can participate in the market.
I think I'm going to comment on the issue of the leveraging on the continental free trade. For us in East Africa and Kenya specifically, I think we are way advanced. I've had a chance to interact with farmers, especially from South Africa and West Africa. They do not have standards yet. They don't have standards for organic, they don't have standards for agroecology, and neither do they have bodies that actually have certification like what we have here in Kenya. So because of that, it's an opportunity for us in East Africa to actually be able to see how we can actually be able to build the capacity of our brothers and sisters, especially in South and Western Africa, and also, just to take advantage of what we already have here in East Africa. I just find that, sometimes, when you want to be able to, to grow something like like the Kilimo High mark, which is the PGS mark for East Africa, we need traders. We need people to actually engage in business, because it's one thing to go through the standards, it's another thing to go through the training. But if we never use the standards that we have, if we don't use the mark, then of what benefit is it? So my encouragement is for us to move into more trade, and that way then we can actually be able to push the mark and have more trade happening across the borders.
Maybe just very quickly on women representation in the PGS groups. I'll talk about 3 practical groups. I'll talk about Ainogov PGS, I'll talk about the Kiserian PGS, and Deya. If you look at the women representation, it's about 75% and just about 25% men. So at times the notion that there are more men is something that probably we've had for a long time. I think we need to visit the PGS groups, see the representation of men and women. But so far for the 3 that I'm closely related to, it's about 75% women, 25% men.
Thank you for that. I see the chair lady has a question, I believe, but there's one here and another, and then I'll come to you as a final one. Just a notification, I see people just leaving Pole Pole. We're actually done for the day. We will accommodate the parallel sessions mid-morning tomorrow. We found a place where it'll actually fit perfectly, so we're actually done with these. The 3 questions remaining, just keep it brief, and we'll be done.
Thank you very much. My name is Osea Kandagor. I come from the northern landscape, where we do a lot of pastoralism. Your discussion is quite interesting, and I was asking myself, are there PGS system for livestock sector? And if any, it would be good to know and just explore. Thank you.
Let's respond to that.
Maybe just briefly, I've met women from Isiolo who are already organized. Bwana Kandago, yeah, they are already organized. They're doing nyir, yeah, the camel meat. So in terms of the systems, I think there is a possibility of just building onto the existing systems and to bring in PGS and the use and the element of safety. What are they feeding the animals on? Can we support them to do better fodder, so that even the product that they're bringing on board can be considered safe, if not organic? So I think there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, that's true that PGS is a guarantee system which can be applied in many different production systems, from crop production to animals to people who do aquaculture, people who do sustainable fisheries, because it is a way of guaranteeing, and that's why we are saying it can be applicable to both organic, where we have organic standards, but also in agroecology.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Bernard Lola Shaw with the Kenya Indigenous Youth Network, and this is a follow-up question. I mean, the last 2 have been also on inclusion and other value chains, and mine particularly is on apiculture. And I know we work with farmers, beekeepers, and how best can we integrate? I want to ask particularly Kwan, do you have a platform, or how best can we collaborate with you to ensure that we create this PGS for beekeepers? I know these are real issue because lots of people, especially in Nairobi, get conned by buying fake honey, and it's important that we ensure that farmers get value for their money, and also that the consumers buy quality products using PGS standards. Thank you.
Have I been conned? Mimi najua best honey ni kutoka Ukambani. Have I been conned? You can respond to that.
Thank you, Bernard. We as Kwan, we are trying to decentralize PGS and working with the many partners throughout the country. From last year, we had a capacity development program for TOTs and assessors of PGS, where about 28 participants from different parts of the country graduated. And the aim here is where we can have a pool of experts from the different parts to assist different organizations, different farmer groups to form PGS groups and also to do assessment. So I think if you can liaise with us, we can probably identify somebody who is near you, who can work with you, so that you can develop a PGS, and then we can organize for assessment.
Asante, there was one question here from Daktari. I think I'll be amiss if I don't let her ask it for herself. Just one question, Daktari.
I thought you'll ask it. It's a question of traceability systems and labeling within the PGS. Because there was one time when I picked on a document on something, or even when you go to the stores, the markets, you'll always find products labeled by numbers. I think they go from either 1 to 10 or 2 to 9, meaning different things. But the only numbers that you can find in the stores are numbers that apply to GMOs and all those, they may contain GMOs, but you never see a product that is labeled with a number that reflects that this product is from agroecology or it's organic. Is there any labeling mechanism for the products that we sell, especially locally here, and what awareness are we giving to particularly the women, because they are the ones who do buy those things from the markets? What information do they have that when I choose this number, I'm guaranteed that I'm choosing an organic product? So traceability and labeling, how is that done in the PGS?
Yeah, thank you, Daktari. If once a farmer is, or a group of farmers are approved for PGS, or they become an approved PGS group, then they sign an agreement for using the Kilimo mark, which is the organic mark for identifying organic products in the market, and they can actually use it to put on their products. Although even PGS itself is aroused that farmers, if they want, they can come up with their own label in the market. But we encourage them to use the Kilimo mark because we have been promoting it, and it's being promoted by many partners, and many consumers identify it with the organic products. Actually now with agroecology, we are thinking about coming with a different shade of Kilimo, the blue Kilimo for agroecology products. But I think we are also working with partners so that we can come up with a framework for doing assessment on agroecology products. In terms of traceability, yeah, you are right. We don't have a traceability system yet. We are working on it, and we are working together with the traders and retailers on this, because as you say, it's very important that a product, when it's picked by a consumer on the shelf, can actually be traced back to who produced it, as a way of also building confidence of consumers. So I would say that we don't have that system yet, but it's a development. Thank you.
Asante. And finally, our chairperson would like to give a comment, and also as a way of saying thank you, and I'll hand it to you to wrap it up, Eustace.
Thank you. Well said by Dr. Olembo. It's like you said what I wanted to say. However, I'll just put it in a different way, that we need to think all through. Not you, not us, everybody should be involved. We are looking at the mark, but the mark can be put in either those tins and something else. What about the vegetables? What about the fruits? What else can we do so that we can come up with a mark that can be seen in all the products that we're producing? So we need to look at that, and we need to agree which way to move. If I see this mark, if I see a label in our vegetables or in packaging or whatever that we are going to think through, I know this is organic. Then the other thing that we should actually look at is the way of marketing, advertisement. Coca-Cola has been here for years and years and years, and up to now it is still advertised. So how can we also leverage or make more efforts in terms of advertising our products? Then we know there's Sylvia's basket, there's this that promote, there's Deya, there's this. So that people know that when you want to go and get organic, you can go and get it elsewhere. Sometimes people buy because they don't have alternatives. Leave alone even the prices. Even where do you get them? Maybe information is very rare. We need to look at this. How do we go about it? And with that, I don't know if there's any questions that we have not answered. And I also don't know if there's something that in the backy that you have not, you still feel that it needs to be addressed. But I know human nature reaches a point that you are just here because you can't do anything. And we don't have to make you so vulnerable that lazima tu kai hapa since that you are here and you don't want to walk out. Kindly, we have agreed, let us start again tomorrow and let us be early enough. So thank you very much, and thank you for the people, those who have been waiting, and those who have also agreed to stay until the 11th hour, the last minute, and I think we're going for tea? Yes, so as we go for tea, make sure that you also visit the exhibition before tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Asante sana. Applause to our chairperson and our host from Pelen, Kenya, and to Eustace. You could just use that mic. Perhaps you want to give them an opportunity to say goodbye or just to tell them asante as you wrap it up. Asante.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to wrap it up in 3 things which have come up and kind of take away homes. I think number one is that we need to think through PGS and expand its scope to see how it covers things to do with pharmacy management, with the seeds, also to include issues of phytosanitary measures, and to see how we can explore the opportunities to take advantage of the Africa free trade area. And the other opportunities is also to expand the scope of PGS to include other value chains, not only crops, to include apiculture, and also to include things to do with livestock. With that, I want to say thank you very much, and it was our intention that the study that was done last, that we wanted to launch it, but we just have a photo as a way of ending the session and saying thank you. I would like to invite the 2 presenters who were here before, who spoke to this topic, Matthias and Biko. And I also want to invite the people who are behind the study. There was Pelham Kenya. Maybe you can have a representative of Pelham Kenya. We had BioVision Africa Trust.
We could stand here, just here where we've been taking the photos. Tafadhali, as you're being called by Eustace,
yeah,
and to the gentleman behind the
photo.
camera. Karibu on stage. This is just the last one. Don't you worry. It's the last part. No speeches. It's just a picture, just a smile. And we appreciate it. Eustace, you were saying this is a launch of a report, and I think we will patch it here.
Yeah. And then there was Slow Food, BioVision Foundation. Francis, yes, please come up. And together we have a photo. Thank you very much for the good discussions, the interactive discussions. And let's have the photo. Thank you.
All right, let's squeeze into the center stage, at least so that he can accommodate everyone in the photo. And we also, I believe, yes, there's a countdown as well for this, and I think they'll patch up the report that is being launched today. Asante Sana Eustace. He's holding the physical copy of that, and I believe we'll be able to interact with it. Tuwape makofi as we launch this, and let's do it together, and in 5. Kaka, tuendelee. Kaka, mwenye countdown. Tufanye basi. Umehang kidogo. 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, yet another launch. Let's give an applause and congratulations to the team that has made this possible. I believe we had the soft copy of this just for the people to see, but you'll also be able to see a copy, a physical one. You can walk over to Eustace, and I believe some are probably at the registration. Yes. So make sure you get a copy of that for yourself as you head on home. Asanteni sana. Let's give them another round of applause as they take their seats. And ladies and gentlemen, now I'd like to invite us to some chai and some servings, snacks that will be served at the exhibition area where we had our 10 o'clock tea, earlier morning tea.
And as we do that, please feel free to interact at the exhibition area. The tents are still manned by the representatives. Interact, ask all the questions. They'll still be there even tomorrow, that we can interact during our tea break. But as we've heard from our chairperson, Janet Mumo, asanteni sana kwa kuja, we have found a way of accommodating the parallel sessions that were slated for after this panel, and that will be in the mid-morning section of tomorrow's program. It remains the same, all but to accommodate the parallel sessions. We found a way of accommodating that. If you see, there is a session that's meant to last 2 hours. At least that's what was envisaged. But there's a way of squeezing that to 1 hour, then accommodate the parallel sessions that were to be accommodated this afternoon. Parallel session 1, scientific evidence of agroecology. 2, policy and governance. 3, finance and markets for agroecology transition. 4, agroecology practices for climate resilience. All those parallel sessions will be accommodated in breakout rooms tomorrow mid-morning. So go ye, enjoy the tea and the bitings that have been said. But we have successfully launched the first agroecology symposium. Give yourselves a hand as well, because you've been part of this success. And we do it again bigger and stronger on day 2, as we'll be having the closing ceremony. Asanteni nyote. Have yourselves a good evening. Get home safe. See you tomorrow, 8 a.m.
Join us for the first National Agroecology Symposium in Kenya, where innovation meets tradition. On November 6th and 7th, 2024, at the Kenya School of Monetary Studies, we'll explore our theme, Sustainable Future, Advancing Agroecology for Food Sovereignty and Climate Resilience. Our focus areas are policy and governance, agroecological practices for food security and climate resilience, finance and markets for agroecology transition, scientific evidence and innovation of agroecology, and women, youth, and PWDs in agroecology. Connect with leading experts, farmers, and advocates as we discuss practical solutions to ensure food sovereignty and tackle climate challenges. Whether you're a farmer, policymaker, or an advocate for sustainable practices, this is your chance to be part of a transformative movement.
The mission is PLAM Kenya. We promote agroecological principles and practices among smallholder farmers and pastoral communities in Kenya. And these are the most vulnerable communities when we talk about the climate change, when we talk about food systems that are at crossroads, and when we talk about many vulnerabilities, including policy changes that affect the smallholder farmers. And as a network, we are the forefront, supporting the farmers in all the ways that we can. And of course, the food and agriculture must too change as the climate change is changing, and I see the great role of agroecology as a broad climate solution. So it's my hope that we shall be able to share our innovative ideas. We shall be able to freely network and be part of this solution of the climate crisis through agroecology, because at the end of the day, in as much as agriculture, they have been contributing to climate change, we have to eat, and we have to do this in a sustainable manner.
Don't miss out. Register today and help shape a sustainable future for Kenya. Together, we can cultivate change.